Hello everyone, I'm going to be showing you how to run NEO-GEO CD on your PlayStation Classic, and due to the safety net that Sony implemented, which would be the limiter, if you draw too much power you can crash your system, core, or games accordingly. But there's a nice little workaround I'm going to show you, aside from the hardware recommendation of having a USB powered hub. I'll get into that more in a minute, but I'm going to load up the NEO CD 2018 core, which is going to go out in my core set release soon after this video post. Low content start directory. I have my games contained within the dummy folder. I'm going to go to the NEO CD folder, load up this great game called Last Hope Pink Bullets, an incredible homebrew shmup, and I'm going to draw too much power because I have just a flash drive in port 2 and a controller in port 1. Bam, it's going to crash my system. Just watch. In an earlier auto blame and blame seek releases, it would literally just shut your system down, but it has a more graceful exit to the main splash screen, which is much nicer. You can get right back in the game. On the Mini NES and SNES, there's a thing where you'd have errors such as C7, C8, and so on. You kind of know exactly what you're dealing with, but here, you just have to recognize the overall behavior and react accordingly. I'm going to do a little bit of a memory exploit. I'm going to commit memory right now. We did it as an overcommit on the Mini NES and SNES. And I'm going to load, I'm not going to load that NEO CD core. I'm actually going to load a different core here. I'm going to load the Sony PlayStation Portable PP Extreme core. And then I'm going to load a game. Because this is a very, very special core wherein it needs to allocate a certain amount of memory, which is going to commit it to memory. And I'm going to load any random PSP game. It doesn't matter. And once it is loaded, I have this memory absolutely committed. And again, on the Mini NES and SNES, this was an overcommit when we did this. But here's going to be a little bit of a memory exploit in a good way. I'm going to go to load core again. And I'm going to load, after I loaded the PP Extreme core, then the game, and I committed the memory. Now I'm going to load the NEO CD 18 core yet again. Then load content start directory, dummy. Then I'm going to load the same game, Last Hope Pink Bullets. And it's not going to crash this time. But ideally, you're going to want to have a USB powered hub, which would be plugged into port 2. You can have your flash drive and or hard drive in there, and even a second controller for 2-player mode activate. And again, this is an incredible shmup. I showcased Sturmwind in my last Dreamcast video, but I'm going to showcase this NG Dev Team game. Incredible company. I'll definitely show more of their games. I'm going to start the game here, and let's see how far we make it. But an incredible production values, presentation, technical achievement here. In my top favorite shmups of all time, probably along with Polestar, Radiant Silvergun, Ikaruga, Raptor, Call of Shadows. There are just so many shmups I can talk about. Gradius 5. And I'm still waiting for them to put R-Type Final on PlayStation Network. I really need that one. This game is a barrage of crazy insanity here. Most people might not even make it past the first stage in this insane game. But it is a very, very fun venture nonetheless. But we'll do a few showcases of other custom OSTs you're going to be able to run on the PlayStation Classic as well today. Because, it is a true step up, a transition from running cartridge-based games. And if you look back in hindsight 2020, the Sega CD and TurboGrafx CD were actually far ahead of their time, a good decades ahead of their time, and it took many, many years later for people to truly appreciate both of these systems, along with other systems such as 3DO and so on. But listen to this incredible soundtrack, Aaron. Truly fits in with some of the 1980s movies, some of the B-movies. But we'll do a little bit more of this, and then we'll move into some more examples of games. And again, we have this memory committed now. I'm going to uncommit the memory in a little bit too. There are a few different tricks you can do with memory on the PlayStation Classic. But again, ideally you'd want to get a USB-powered hub, and then you'll have less of a problem. Because, Sony did not want any of these modifications to ever take off the ground, so they tried to make it where if you plugged in a flash drive, it would pretty much exceed the limit of power draw and simply just crash your system. Right now I'm running a 16 gig drive. That is what I found to work best without having a USB powered hub. But if you have a powered hub, you can run 32 gigabytes and higher, and even a full hard drive and such. We'll try one more life here. We at least gotta get to the next checkpoint. But definitely check out this incredible game, Last Hope Pink Bullets. It was initially on NEO-GEO as a homebrew game, but it has a nice variant of it on NEO-GEO CD, complete with its full CD soundtrack, which is mind-blowingly awesome. And I'm going to be showcasing Polestar as well, because that is yet another one of the pinnacle achievements of NEO-GEO awesomeness, with a complete CD soundtrack as well for the NEO-GEO CD. And one thing that's nice about this core is you do not have load times, of which the real hardware actually had in the United States. The Japanese variant of NEO-GEO CD actually removed some of the load times and minimized them. We got this. Okay, we made it as far as we can go right now, but definitely check out Last Home Big Bullets. We're going to go to load another game now. Star Trajectory Dummy. And we'll go to another Neo CD game. We'll do, how about a Metal Slug game? We can't go wrong with Metal Slug. And we'll do Metal Slug 2. And the nice thing about this is you don't have to do any dip switches, cheats, codes, or anything like that. You have red blood mode activate from the get-go, which is incredible. I mean, even playing Splatterhouse Arcade, retrospectively speaking, it was kind of disappointing that all the blood in the game is actually green. Kind of like the USA version of Night Slashers. We need red blood mode activate in games like Night Slashers, which we do have in the Japanese version, as well as Splatterhouse, which they've never done. Until they did the Xbox 360, and of course the PS3 remake. But look, red blood mode activate. Doesn't get better than this. And the CD soundtrack is incredibly awesome. We'll do a little bit of this, and then we'll try one or two more NEO-GEO CD games. Then we'll do a little bit more of the other custom OSTs. But really digging this, and I'm also going to link to my tutorial demonstration showcase for the Mini NES and SNES, which has a good hour of me playing a good dozen plus NEO-GEO CD games. I mean, you're going to definitely know what you need to do from watching that video, and you can ask questions accordingly. And if you go to the extra file folder, I have a nice printable PDF file that just me, 488, myself, and Anti-Fly worked out on, which will help you get the BIOS set up accordingly. Awesome game here. I love each and every Metal Slug game. And again, this is a little bit CPU and GPU intensive, so some games will have just a hint of slowdown here and there. But still, it is a nice trade-off for this incredibly amazing custom OST awesomeness. Let's take out these little rocket busty things right here. Then we'll move on to another example. Okay, and we'll do Polestar, another great custom OST shmup next. And you know why I'm talking about custom OSTs within the next few minutes. Okay, we're going to move on to another game. Now we'll do the Polestar one, which is a game that I compared directly to games like Last Hope, Pink Bullets, and such. And of course, R-Type. It has a lot of R-Type tendencies to it. So Polestar, here we go. And again, I run a dozen plus other very, very well-known NEO-GEO games with these CD variants on my other video, which I'll link to in the description as well as in my core set release. But we're doing Polestar now, and this is probably, arguably, the best shmup you could possibly conceivably play on the NEO-GEO CD. Let alone, of course, on the NEO-GEO. And you'll see in my other video me playing Ironclad, which is a great, great game as well. That'll be in the other video. But really loving this soundtrack as well. Again, these are so far ahead of their time, it's ridiculous. And this isn't the only system that can run custom OSTs. I mean, obviously we have the Sega CD, TurboGrafx CD, and of course NEO-GEO CD, but I'm going to show you two other ways you can do it as well. And I love this jazz fusion pop soundtrack here. Again, if I'm going to do a list of my top 12 shmups of all time, which I might even do and throw in the description, this is definitely going to be in them every time. And I still pick the original R-Type by Irem as my #1 shmup of all time. That is undoubtedly the best one of all. Very, very cool with the soundtrack. Yeah, a few more power-ups there. Charge Blast. This really does feel, in essence, and spiritually, like a successor to R-Type. I'd love to see more R-Type games come out in the future. I mean, as I mentioned, I need to have R-Type Final on my PlayStation 4 or Xbox One. I definitely want to have those. I at least have R-Type Delta on PlayStation 1, which is nice enough, but I really love R-Type Final. That, along with Gradius 5, are just two of the best examples and pinnacle achievements of shmup ever. And I'm also a big, big fan of Duke Nukem style games, which would be kind of a front of over-the-shoulder perspective shmup game. I'm going to show you that next. We'll do that right now. One more. And let's do that right now. We'll do Nam 1975, another incredible game. I've always been a big fan of this. This is probably one of the games that I really want to play on the original Neo-Geo the most, but unfortunately, I could not afford the system. I was able to have a Sega Genesis and a Super Nintendo and a Nintendo, Sega Master System, TurboGrafx 16, but I definitely couldn't afford the $800, I believe it was, price tag and a $200 US dollar price tag for, of course, the Neo-Geo games. I mean, obviously games like Legend of Success Joe were really cheap because they just sucked. I would have loved to see like a custom OST for that game. Very fun game, very much like Duke Nukem. And there's actually a great action RPG style game, which is very much like this as well. If you're playing arcade games, you can play G.I. Joe and Rambo 3, and they're also equally fun to this. But great soundtrack, definitely ups the ante here. Take out that helicopter. There we go. We'll do that other game that I'm showcasing too. I've always been a big fan of games like this, but definitely check this out as well. NOM 1975. Great 2-player mode activate game. Let's go to low content again. Star Trajectory Dummy, Neo CD, and see if we can do a few more of these. We'll do Crossed Swords. A great game in the vein of Mike Tyson's Punch-Out, but with medieval swords and whatnot. I've always been a big fan of any and every game that is like Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. I mean, that's still my #1 favorite Nintendo game that I've played more than any of all. I mean, I also like games that are similar to it, such as, of course, the arm wrestling game also made by Nintendo. This game right here, Crossed Swords 1. There's also an exclusive NEO-GEO CD game called Crossed Swords 2, which got a nice little prototype port for Neo-Geo. Then, of course, we have Tough Man Contest on Sega Genesis, Punch King on Game Boy Advance, and so on, but I love these type of games. I almost want to play the invariably bad game, Power Punch 2 on Nintendo, which is really bad. But I'm going to show you one thing after we do this text example here, because I did commit this memory by exploiting the PPSSPP Extreme Core. I'm going to basically free the memory up after we do this little example here. Then we'll do a few more awesome games. And I love the action RPG style element as well. I would absolutely love to see them do a game like this with the Golden Axe concept. I mean, they released Golden Axe on PS3, and that was such a travesty, a terrible god-awful game. Of course, Golden Axe 2 Legend of Death Adder, or Death Adder game on the arcade version is great. I mean, I love Golden Axe 1, 2, and Death Adder. You can play the Death Adder one on MAME 2003 Extreme, in fact. Now I'm going to have to load that game up just to show you what I'm talking about. Now you got to get used to the defense here. There we go. I got this. Loving this soundtrack. Need to get our 2-player mode activate going here. Okay. But incredibly cool game. Definitely check out Crossed Swords 1 and 2. We'll take out these 3 stooges here, and then we'll move on to the next thing. And I'm also watching that movie called Stan and Ollie, which is a little bit of a loose story retelling of basically them 16 years later after their major phenomenal success. I find it to be an interesting movie. I love seeing them historical docudrama, aka comedy movies, which are about Three Stooges, Laurel and Hardy, and so on. They're very cool things. I mean, I used to watch The Little Rascals, Three Stooges, and of course Laurel and Hardy. They never get old, and even some Charlie Chaplin here and there. And of course, Robert Downey Jr. actually did a fantastic job playing Chaplin in his movie many years ago. I think he might have won an award for that too, or at least got nominated. We all know, like, he really rose to mainstream success again from doing Iron Man, of course, but he was great in Less Than Zero, which is by the same author who also did American Psycho. And there's actually another movie, I didn't really think American Psycho was, like, really happening in reality, but if you ever watched the movie Rules of Attraction, there's a cousin of the main character that Christian Bale plays within the movie American Psycho, and that's pretty much how I figured it was actually truly happening in the movie, not just fantasy and such. And there's even a follow-up sequel to it. I exited RetroArch right there because I want to free the memory up. I'm going to go back into RetroArch now. Okay, we're going to be doing something special right now. We're going to go to low core. We're not going to need to do the memory exploit because that is particularly for cores such as NEO CD 2018 and Final Burn Alpha 2018, which is also going to go out in my release. We're going to load up the SNES 9X 2018 core right now. Load content, start trajectory, and we're going to be doing a very, very special thing. Super Nintendo games with full CD soundtracks, aka MSG1 games. And a great guy named Bayou is behind the coding for this genius awesomeness. We're going to load up Mega Man X2, a game that is absolutely notorious for slowdown on relatively lower spec hardware, as well as the original Super Nintendo and such. This game has always had issues. But we're going to be running it better than ever before on the PlayStation Classic with a full CD soundtrack to boot. We'll go to the stage that has to slow down, the Bubble Crab stage. And I still need to pick up the Mega Man X collections for PlayStation 4, the legacy ones. Definitely gotta do that. Big Mega Man fan from way back, even with its horrendous cover art on the original Mega Man 1. I actually got the game for only $10 US from a friend because he couldn't even beat the game. He considered it far too difficult, but I used to beat that game so many times. And I love doing this select pause trick, especially on the later stages. I hate that they patched it out in later incarnations of the game. They should have just left that exploit in. Very, very funny stuff, especially with the Elect Man weapon. One thing that they should have always had, just like they should have always had in the Sonic games, the ability to do the spin dash under the ground. You should have always been able to slide the Mega Man. That's one thing I really do like. You need a double jump, you need a slide attack. Two things you need in all these games. We got this. We'll take out the first little mini boss and then we'll get over to the Bubble Crab stage and get to the prominent slowdown area. And then we'll do a couple more of them MSG1 games, which I'm referring to right now. In particular, one of my absolute favorite ones, and you're really going to love this one, especially if you've never seen or heard of it before. It's been a little while since I last played this, as you can see. I still need to play the latest Mega Man 11 as well. I really need to pick that one up. Okay, let's do this. But we're going to do the Bubble Crab stage with that notorious slowdown next, after we take out this guy. And I remember the very first time I played Mega Man 2 and got to that first boss, that just blew my mind. And this is really, really cool. Having these enemies that take up the entire screen, unheard of before. I mean, how many games have you seen like this before Mega Man 2? Oh great, we don't need this. We got this. You're not taking me down, man. You're done. But yes, that dragon in Mega Man 2 is one of the first examples I've ever seen of a boss that really took up a big portion of the stage. So Bubble Crab stage, here we go. Now I'm going to get to that precise moment in the stage where you would typically see a lot of slowdown occur. It is a special chip game. It has very complex algorithms as far as the graphical display and such. It actually worked with KPS 501 last year on the SNES 9X Bright Core, which actually took into account some of these. But you require more powerful hardware to be able to run this game properly on that core. Here we go, Bubble Crab stage. You're going to be running this game best with the custom OST version, which I'm running right now, the MSG1 version, on SNES 9X 2018, but if you're going to be running it without the custom OST, you might want to check it out on SNES 9X 2005 Plus. That'd probably be your best bet otherwise. And if you're running on the Nintendo Classics, check it out on, of course, Canoe or SNES 9X 2005 Plus. But you're still going to have slowdown issues, especially the part what I'm going to show you in a moment here. They did an impeccable job on this soundtrack here. Right here's when the game slows down. I mean, look at this. You can definitely tell it slowed down a little bit, but nowhere near as bad as on lower spec hardware, which I played it on before. Particularly the mini SNES and such, where it gets really, really atrocious on SNES 9X 2018. This is far more tolerable and bearable. And we're going to be loading up the MSG1 Zelda game next. It's actually a great online broadband Satellaview series of games where you can actually go online on a weekly basis and pretty much play competitively with other people, score-wise and such. They didn't even finish the Zelda game, but they did later on. A group of people hacked in and ended into it and made it a complete experience. I'm going to show you it as our next game. And then you're going to be in for a real treat if you've never heard of it before. But yes, I'm going to be coming back to this. I'm going to get the Legacy Collections and probably play these on PlayStation 4 and see how they fare. Any of you who've got these on PlayStation 4, let me know how these play in comparison to what I just showed you. So load content here. Star Treachery Dummy. We'll go to the MSU1 again, and we're going to load up BS Zelda. And again, this is like a great upgrade in graphics visually. I'd have to say, in my many years of emulation, this is probably in my top half dozen things that I've ever played that are just absolutely incredibly mind-blowing. You're talking about majestic graphics, which are akin to Mario All-Stars, with a great orchestral soundtrack. This is just amazing. Check it out for yourself here. And it was hard to believe that way back they had a board meeting and they were going to decidedly say that United States might not be able to handle a game as complex as Zelda, but we ate it up just like we do in Final Fantasy and so on. I mean, Dragon Warrior, Final Fantasy, Zelda, we ate these RPGs up even though they didn't think we had the attention span to be able to handle these games. But yes, we did. Sure enough. And dozens upon dozens of Zeldas, Final Fantasies, and Dragon Warriors, aka Dragon Quest later, we're still going strong with these RPGs. And JRPGs accordingly. But first time I played this many years ago was before they had the end, and I played like probably 50 different versions of this. And this right here is a beautiful thing indeed. Probably one of the best variants I've absolutely played of it to date. We'll get to the first dungeon, of course, and see how the music fares there. I'm also a big fan of 3D Game Heroes on PlayStation 3, which is the closest thing, quintessentially speaking, to this game to boot. And I beat this entire game without even having a map. I mean, I actually got the entire game without a map. I like playing the Abominable's big adventure game, or little adventure, how you like to see it. And that was a great take on Zelda in that game. They need to really get that game on like a Nintendo system. Nintendo needs to get that going. Or even some sort of port for the classics, either Nintendo classics or PlayStation classics. Let's shoot the guy here. You know what happens when you shoot the guy, right? That's what happens. There's a little joke on it in Bobo's Adventure as well. But this is mind-blowing. You know another game that really blew my mind? I'm going to load this up as the final MSU1 game. We're talking about the definitive soundtrack for a Street Fighter game that you could ever conceivably play. This would be Super Street Fighter 2 with the 3DO soundtrack. I mean, 3DO had the best version of Street Fighter 2 ever, without a doubt. Even better than the arcade version. But listen to this awesomeness there. And I'll play as Chun-Li because that is my mainstay character, along with Ken and such. Okay, Chun-Li, here we go. And I actually imported this game along with Contra 3 way back on the Super Nintendo earlier than they came out release-wise. I did quite a bit of importing way back. I had to pay about $20 to $30 US more, but I didn't want to wait an extra month for some of these games. Probably my worst decision ever was importing Star Fox 64 one single week earlier for about 30 extra US, but I still really wanted the game bad at that time. But listen to this incredible 3DO soundtrack. We got this. And speaking of custom OSTs, I'm going to show you one final awesome example of custom OSTs in action for the tail end of this video. But yes, we need our 2-player mode activate with a full CD soundtrack, particularly the 3DO version. And yes, I would love to have full speed emulation of 3DO, but it's going to take a little bit of work because it is quite CPU and GPU intensive. Let's hear one more stage of music right here. See what we have to go on here. Hong Kong. Okay, the Bruce Lee style character. Yeah, they did such an impeccable job on this soundtrack. Probably the best ones I've seen since Street Fighter V and so on. Okay, we're going to do one more thing. I'm going to load Core. We're going to go to my personal build variant of MAME 2003 Extreme. And we're going to go to Load Content, Star Treachery Dummy. I'm going to go to my main folder. And we're going to load up a very special game. We're going to load up Final Fight. And this is a thing that was a collaboration between GP Star, Big Blue Frontend, and myself. And just wait for yourself. We have custom OSTs for NBA Jam, Outrun, Mortal Kombat, Michael Jackson's Moonwalker, Double Dragon, and of course the one I play right now, Final Fight. Just see it for yourself. This is the arcade version with Guy, Hagar, and Cody, of which when the Super Nintendo version came out, they didn't have Guy initially, which is very perturbing to me, because he is one of the best playable characters in the game, without a doubt. But later on, they released Final Fight Guy, of course, to make up for that. But we should have had him from the get-go. But here, we have all three of the characters, and we also have the Sega CD soundtrack playing in the background. How cool is that? But big personal thanks to Big Blue Front End and GP Star for making this happen. And you can definitely check out many of my other custom OST videos. You can run these on the Nintendo Classics, as well as the PlayStation Classics. Look how incredibly cool this is. Oh yeah, Outrun was done as well. Forgot all about Outrun. Good half dozen of these awesome games. I'd have to say one of my favorites is running the Michael Jackson Moonwalker one with the real Michael Jackson songs. That is awesome. And I'll link to some of these videos in the description so you can see some of these other ones in action. But hope you enjoyed the video, and there's so much awesomeness as far as custom CD soundtracks and many of the countless cores you can run these with. But definitely check these out, and if you need any help running anything that you've seen in the video, feel free to ask. Oh yeah, I'm going to do one more thing while I'm here, real quick. Why not? I'm going to go back to the main menu. I'm going to do the overcommit memory right here, because I'm going to show you how to run Final Burn Alpha 2018. Low core, PSP, low content, Star Trajectory dummy, load any PSP game. Okay, and then when I'm in the game, I'm going to go to low core, and I'm going to go load the arcade Final Burn Alpha 2018 core. Again, you're going to want to do the memory exploit for both NEO CD 18 and of course Final Burn Alpha 18. Then we're going to load content, Star Trajectory, dummy, and we're going to load a great arcade game, one of my favorites. And Irem is behind this game, in fact. We're going to load Kid Nicky, and it's going to have drums replacing the normal percussion in the game. And you're going to be able to do this with the installation that I post as well. Check it out for yourself. And this is the final thing I'm going to be showcasing in this game. Otherwise, hope you enjoyed the video. Cue and the drum mode activate. Bam! How cool is that? I can't get enough of these drums, and many of you have seen me do the custom drumming and spontaneous singing and such in my videos, but how cool is this having these drums? Awesome stuff. And I'll definitely be showcasing more stuff you can do with Final Burn Alpha 2018 in my next video. But for right now, enjoy these last 3 videos I posted, and of course that release, and feel free to do comments, suggestions, questions, and messages otherwise. Hope you enjoyed the update and the video. Take care, guys and gals.